The Retro Buzz starts right after this.
Hey guys, it's Friday and it's time for the Retro Buzz. This is episode number 26 for, I believe it's May 22nd, 2020. Yes, we are still in 2020, unfortunately. This guy has taken today a little bit too far. Well, maybe not. We've got Mr. Glenn Planamento, youtube.com/ Wait, that's not Glenn. Where are you?
Waka 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 waka.
You didn't get a power pellet.
I heard today was a special day. I'm trying to remember what it was. Now I'm a little old, I forget. But someone was telling me today was a special day. So maybe your son could tell me what today is. I don't know what today is.
Do you know what today is? You don't know what today is?
You don't have any idea what today could possibly be.
Not
No
a clue.
idea.
Not a clue? He's thinking about it.
Read right above Glenn's head.
Okay. What is it, Mr. Doug? You have it on your shirt a little bit.
Yeah.
Has to do with 1980.
40th anniversary of Pac-Man. Arcade King, legend, character, Pac-Man himself.
Wow.
Come on, Daniel. Come on.
He knew. He's just being
the icon of a complete industry.
Absolutely.
Pac-Man.
Most profitable arcade game of all time.
Yep. And then the one guy got completely ripped off by it, which was Crazy Otto, who had a sex change to become Miss Pac-Man. So that poor Crazy Otto.
He made money. That sex change paid for itself.
I just saw him in the alley doing some shady things for cash. I don't know. Pac-Man, Miss Pac-Man made some money.
Oh my.
What's this world coming to?
Well, anyway, so we've got Glenn here. We've also got Mr. Douglas Smith repping his cool 1980s t-shirt. And you have a little surprise for later on, right?
Yeah, I got a Pac-Man themed giveaway, in honor of the man's 40th anniversary. I figured we'd give some Pac-Man swag away.
Awesome.
Nice.
Awesome. I do have a question. With Arcade 1-Up's release, before we introduce our guest, did any of you pre-order the 40th anniversary cabinet at all?
I did not. It is a good-looking cabinet. That wood grain on the side and everything is spectacular. But I've already got this Pac-Man. I've already got a Miss Pac-Man. And I've got my cocktail cabinet that I've got the Pac-Man games on. So I've got my fix of Pac-Man right now. But I will admit that Arcade 1-Up is a beautiful-looking cabinet.
I think Glenn did. Glenn, did you get it?
I actually didn't. I have the original Pac-Man one, but it is a very nice looking cabinet. But I agree with P-Dubs that I'm not quite sure why they did that to the riser. I think the wood grain should have been completely down on the side and the black on the front. It doesn't look that great to me. But if you don't have a Pac-Man cabinet yet, you get Galaga and some other games on there, which are kind of cool. So, but me, no. I've like Doug. I got about 40 different Pac-Mans to play around the house, and I didn't order that one, no.
Well, it'll be interesting to see. I know this guy. He wants me to get every Pac-Man probably there is. He has a little. He's over here. Daniel. He has. You have the little Pac-Man as well up on your wall, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he's.
Did I bring it down? Or?
You don't have to bring it down. They've all seen it before.
No, they have.
Other people have it. They've seen it. So we've got with us today. We have a guy that is very big on Pac-Man as well as a few other things. We've got Mr. Stephen Cameron from XboxAddict.com. Welcome, sir.
Hey guys.
You're
Glad
not
to be here.
You're not in like an Xbox scene. What's going on? I thought you were going to try to kind of compete with Glenn there a little bit to do the
No,
kinda
it
do
gets
the-
a little convoluted. Maybe Master Chief would have made a presence or something.
there you
That
go.
would have been cool. That would have been
But
cool.
I was like, no. They never gave me one of the cat helmets. You know, the limited edition. I think it was bundled with Halo 2, and it was a small Master Chief helmet, and it would fit the size of the head of a cat. And never got one, but it wouldn't have fit my big head. So, but I've got some Pac-Man stuff too. I've got the TV tray for TV dinners and stuff, and I've got a 30th anniversary canister up there that I got at the party 10 years ago today, I guess. Boy, I feel old all of a sudden. So I've got the little
I don't care
mini
about that,
arcades
man.
like
You got a
Glen
speaking
or
spell up there.
It's a French one, a French speaking spell. It is confusing as all hell. It is. I got it at a yard sale, and I'm looking at it going, oh, cool, a speaking spell. And I give the person $5 or whatever. I get home, I'm like, it's in French. Now I speak French. My family's French, and we're all French. But you turn this thing on, and you have no idea what the hell it's saying. It's the accent is like so bad. It was like, oh. So, anyways, yeah. So, and I've got some Xbox stuff and Tony Hawk skateboard.
I was about to say, I'm freaking out over the skateboard right there. You got to sign. Yeah, Tony
it's signed by Tony Hawk. I met him a few years back, and we can talk about that later. But yeah, it's interesting knickknacks that I keep around and stuff like that. And then I started my Xbox collection, that's not my collection. That's actually my doubles.
Oh wow!
All that. There's like 3 rows of stuff back there. So yeah, but yeah, glad to be here.
And
this
Doug,
is,
Doug, he's also a big Star Wars collector. He's got a lot of the Star Wars figures. He's very big
the
into
original
that as
ones,
well.
not the re-released crap.
Oh, you don't want
Not
the
the Kathleen Kennedy version.
Kennedy ones? Why not?
No.
Me and Doug are on the hunt for these.
1977.
Yeah.
Doug,
I finally got my reissued ones because I'm too young to have been able to purchase the originals. So this is as close as I'm going to get to having those original Kenner figures or these reissued ones. Obviously, I'd want the original Kenner releases, but I have a mortgage, and I can't justify paying mortgage prices for single figures. So I stick with my reissued figures right now.
Well, what's weird with me is that I went through like, I guess, a midlife crisis thing like some older guys do. And I had about 3/4 of all the figures from my childhood for Star Wars, Empire Strikes Back, and Jedi. And then I got back into trying to finish the collection. It wasn't that bad. You just got to find collectors that are not greedy and on eBay all the time. And you just got to say, hey, you want to sell me? And it depends what kind of condition you want them in, too. If you want them in like a perfect 10, you're going to pay top dollar. If you're just happy with a 7, we'll say, with lightly used scratches, you're good. You won't pay too much.
That's what we want. We want everything all boxed, just like the consoles. I've kind of gotten into that.
Yeah, you're going to pay a small fortune.
The box is where it gets troublesome.
Oh, yeah, there's stuff that's astronomical, and I don't have a single boxed one except, yeah, I do actually. I have one that's boxed, actually. It's an Ewok from Jedi.
Oh, no one wants those. That's why.
Yeah, nobody wanted them. It's one of they call it the last 17 figures or whatever. And I got it for free. I did some work, some web development for a Star Wars group. So they were like, oh, here, take one of these. I was like, oh, cool. Thank you. So I have one figure that's in a box, and the shell thing is all yellow and everything. It's pretty sad.
So to kind of get into this a little bit, for people that don't know who you are, what you do, you have a website. You have a website that I'm going to pull up here called Xbox Addict. Okay.
Yep.
Why don't you dive in a little bit about this and talk about what you do, so if people are interested.
Okay. So essentially, I own and I've operated this site for 15 years. I still own it, but I don't run it anymore because after 15 years of doing this thing, you tend to get burnt out a little bit. Now, the site started off back in 2000, July of 2000, and I could tell that story later on how I got to build this site, but essentially the site has become the oldest still running Xbox fan site on the planet, according to Microsoft.
Wow.
So the site is the longest running fan site out there. It's not the biggest one. And we were in its heyday of the site, we were in the top 5 on the planet. Number 1 in Canada. And then we were top 5 in the world as being recognized. So Microsoft loved the website. Now I won't sit up here and say, hey, I did everything by myself. I've had tons of help over the years of people coming in, and I send them products and they review it, and just great volunteers over the years. And there's still people helping out with the site. But I got burnt out about 5 years ago on the whole thing, and traveling to Los Angeles for E3 every year, it takes its toll. You come back and you're jet lagged and burnt out, and you tend to, you know, you say, "Oh, is this really worth it at the end of the day?" And I just walked away, not because I hated the Xbox or anything. I just after 15 years, it was a good ride, of doing a fan site, and they still get me to do stuff on the site, but I'm pretty much detached, but I still own it. It's still my site and everything else, but I let them reap all the free stuff and the review units and all that stuff. So they take care of that. And then I ended up building ColecoVision Addict because I ended up going back to my youth. It was my first console as a kid and had fond memories of it. And yeah, so I ended up building that, and my site came out of nowhere in the retro community. They were like, "Who's this guy? How did he build this crazy site?" Because it was a big database of all the Coleco games, and I researched every game and made sure there was no duplicates and the record keeping for ColecoVision, there was really bad. I found that out the hard way that nobody kept records on, like, if you ask somebody what day did Halo come out, somebody will be able to tell you it came out November 2001 on this date. There's a record of that. On the Coleco, I don't know when Donkey Kong came out on the Coleco. It came out when the thing launched, and nobody has a date or anything. So I was trying to archive a lot
October
of this stuff.
1982.
Was it? Was it? Okay, Glenn. So it was frustrating. It was really frustrating. So I ended up building that site out of pure, absolute frustration, and made it mobile friendly. And I was collecting at the time too, so I made it mobile friendly so I could keep track of what the box art looks like and the screenshots and everything. So the website ended up snowballing as a result. So
Looks pretty
so
cool.
yeah.
And actually, you also
Go
have
ahead.
a pretty good collection of Xbox consoles, correct?
Yes.
You got like a
Yes.
ton of them.
I've got not every single one that exists out there. I do have one unique Xbox, and I'll talk about that in a second. But I've got all the different colors of the original Xbox, a few variations of the 360, debug units. They're basically testing for early code for games and stuff. So I've got a couple of those for the original Xbox and the 360. But my most prized possession is when I ended up announcing to Microsoft that I was walking away from my Xbox site. They sent me a very emotional gift, and I'm looking at it up there on my shelf, and it's a Xbox One. And when the Xbox One launched, everybody that worked on the project got a white Xbox One that has letters on it that says, "I made this." And it was only for employees and everything else. So, but I ended up getting one, but it was signed by all the executives at Microsoft, recognizing and saying thank you for the 15 years of doing this. And I posted up in Twitter, and there were some people going, well, where does this guy get this thing? And there was a people chiming in that knew me. They're like, "Shut up, man! He ran this site for 15 years with blood, sweat, and tears." So it's pretty funny. But the picture, it has signatures from Larry Herb, Major Nelson, the CEO of the Xbox division. His name eludes me right now. I forget his name off the top of my head, but basically I recognized all the signatures on there, and I went, wow. and I was almost crying. Like it was emotional. It was really weird. And I got this thing, and I was threatened by the people that still run Xbox Addict now. They said, "You sell that or turn it on, we will go there and kill you." So
Wow.
I was
Wait.
like, "Okay, I won't sell it then." So it was pretty cool. Yeah.
It'd be worse if you turned it on. You got a red ring immediately. That'd be
No,
kind of
the Xbox One's good for the red rings. It's not like the 360. I've had horror stories of the red ring of death, and for the longest time, Microsoft denied it, and then they finally admitted, and then started fixing every single one of them. But I knew people that had sent in 20 Xboxes, 360s, 20
Oh, wow.
people that were in our forums going, "What the hell is this thing?" And they were all freaking out. And we were trying to tell Microsoft, "Look, we got people in our forums losing their minds. They're getting red rings of death." And when they did honor it, 20 Xboxes. Think about that for a minute. You have an Xbox for a week, and man, you've had milk last longer than an Xbox 360. It's like that's how bad it is. So they finally fixed it, made good. But this one individual, 20 Xboxes, I couldn't get over it. I was like, wow. Did you play anything at that rate? Did you have a chance to pop in a disc for,
We got to
so
applaud them for their loyalty to go back and try 20 different times. I mean, most people would have given up at,
yeah,
number
yeah,
3 or 4 and swore off Xbox for life. But that person was
absolutely.
very,
I did.
very adamant that they wanted to play some Xbox.
Well,
And not only that, but if you think about that, just think about that. That goes to say how their quality control was. This is a huge multi-billion-dollar company, right? And they had that kind of problem. Now look at the smaller
yeah.
companies trying to do the best, like Arcade One Up, Ad Games. So, but people give them a hard time. Microsoft, one time the most prestigious company on the planet. Yeah, someone was bigger than Amazon at some point in the past. Had people 20 units going back for repair. That's a huge problem.
But that's
they
why I
overcame it
went.
over time.
But that's why I went to PS3 and got rid of. I had the Xbox 360, but I stopped buying games because it was just horrible. It's a horrible experience. The only thing that Xbox had on PlayStation
It was live.
was live. That was it. That
Oh,
was the
yeah.
only thing
Live.
that really, like when I played Call of Duty with my buddies, I dusted off the Xbox 360 and I'd go on and play online. Even though it wasn't any good, I still played with them because it was fun.
Yeah.
But that was the only thing that they had. And that's kind of why I became a PlayStation fanboy. Now I do have an Xbox One, but I mean, even my son, he'll play that more, the Xbox, but I still like some of the games on the PS4.
Like you guys have to understand when the 360 hit, it caught them by surprise because they didn't realize they were winning the war, so to speak, because they came out a year before the PS3. They had a jump start on the market, and then it took off. And what really changed everything for Microsoft is them having the ability to change a dashboard on demand. So when they came out with well, if you guys remember the next Xbox experience, they went from the blades to the avatars or the 3D looking characters. Yeah. And that changed everything. People were like, "Oh my God, they can totally change everything." And it just took off after that. And I think after a while, people didn't care if they had the red ring of death, and they just said, "Screw it." They were calling it "Hey, did I get my coffin this week?" That was the big word on the street at the time. It was this box, and you shoved it in there, and away it went. And you'd wish you'd have to hold out. I knew people that had 2 Xboxes, kind of a semi-rotation, just to. That's how dedicated some of these people were on my site. It was incredible. The amount of different people I've seen over the years on Xbox Addict it's nothing short of amazing. I'll give you an example. There was this kid with the original Xbox. He wanted to be a moderator. And I'm like, sure, He lived in Ireland and he was on a complete different time zone, right? So I'd say, okay, good. You can take care of the bad posts, at 2 a.m. or whatever. Yeah, fantastic. This kid, he was always a little bit into acting. He became an actor that's not famous, but he comes up to me and he goes, "Hey, I'm in Vikings. Steven, go check it out." He was in Vikings. This kid that was on Xbox Addict, being a moderator, he's in an episode of the Vikings, not Kings, the Vikings stuff. Yeah, so he's in one of the first 4 episodes. He's the kid that tells the king that the Vikings are coming, basically. And I sat there and I went, "Hey, that dude was on Xbox Addict." I was, on cloud nine. It makes the world a little smaller in a sense where you don't know where people are going to end up, where they're going to have a career or whatever. So it's all these weird little things that have happened to me as far as being part of this thing, So it's
So why don't you go into a little bit of the motocross madness and Xbox and
Yeah.
your Microsoft relationship a little bit? I think people
yeah.
find that interesting.
This is a story that is funny, and it kind of makes you think about, you know, I'm not religious, just sort of things happen for a reason kind of belief, if you will. So this is how things ended up. So I used to race motocross, not professionally or anything. I wasn't really good at it, but I raced motocross. And then I moved to a new town and got on the internet. Internet was brand new in the late 90s. And basically, there was this game called Motocross Madness, the first one. So I was like, okay, this is really cool. And you needed a voodoo card to run this thing. If anybody out there remembers the 3DFX voodoo cards on the PC. And what happened is I ended up making tracks for this thing because the developers released the tools to make tracks. So I ended up making a bunch of tracks. So with my graphic design background and do a little bit of 3D modeling, I created motocross tracks based on me racing and tracks that, that are a little more fantasy, or the jumps are a little bit bigger than they should be or whatever. I made some tracks and I put them out there, and they were ranking fairly well on downloads. There was these sites that had basically downloads, and mine were up there, and I was like, oh wow. And I didn't think anything of it at the time. I was just, okay, this is really cool and what have you. So I was like, okay. So I ended up meeting these other people that were like-minded, kind of like you three in the sense where you just end up with friends online and stuff. And we ended up starting this site called Motocross Madness Central. And it was about news on Motocross Madness. And this was Microsoft. They were in the PC gaming side of things quite a bit at that time in the late 90s. And we ended up building this site. I had a big database I programmed and did some graphics, and the other guy did some graphics too because he was a graphic designer also. And one day we get a call from Microsoft, one of the guys, not me. They said, we'd like for you guys to come to E3 in Los Angeles. And this is in 1999, 98, around there. And so here I wasn't married, had no kids. So I was like, yeah, let's go. I had some money put aside, and I ended up going to Los Angeles. And the most weirdest thing happened. So I go to Los Angeles. There was I ended up seeing Coolio there and all that stuff. And I was a little starstruck, Coolio of all people. And Microsoft invited us to a closed room. Now, if anybody knows about E3, when they say you're to a closed room, it's not for kinky stuff.
there
It's
you
to show
go.
you stuff
Closed
that's not on the
room.
market, right? So we were like,
electronic stuff. Oh,
oh
sorry.
yeah. It's not kinky. It was like closed door stuff, and we were like, what the hell are we gonna see? So we all get there, and this is pretty funny. So I end up at 2 o'clock in front of the door where we were supposed to be, and the other two guys took off. They were gone to the bathroom or something. And this lady comes out and she goes, "Who you waiting for?" Waiting for so and so from Microsoft. And she's like, "Well, what's your name?" "Oh, well, Steven. Do you have an online name?" I said, yeah, it's Camshaft. And like she takes off, and I'm still sitting there. This other lady comes in and she goes, "Cam, oh my God." And I'm sitting there going, I don't know this lady at all. And she's like all freaking out. I'm like, okay. She's like, come on in. We're waiting for you. I said, well, the other guys are coming. They says, yeah. This lady here
Whatever.
will take care of them. And here I am. And these people from Microsoft, they were looking at me. I won't say starstruck, but they were like, "We love your tracks. We're not just saying that. We play your tracks around our office, and we have races on our land and everything else." And I'm sitting there going, these people know me through a game. It sort of blew my mind, or a paradigm shift, where I sat there and I went, I'm just a guy from up north Canada, like in the middle of nowhere. And these people know the stuff that I've done. And they were naming stuff that was very particular about the tracks that I have done. Like they were talking about, oh, this corner and that jump. And I was like, okay, yeah, they've played this thing. They're not just giving you the PR fluff. You know what I mean? Like the,
Poke up your
yeah,
bum.
we played your stuff, and they're lying through their teeth or whatever. No, these people were specific. And I was like, and they were like, oh man, this and that. And I didn't know still why I was there. And the other guys showed up, and they were like, yeah, we want you to go in this room right here. And they rushed us in this room. We ended up meeting the developers of Motocross Madness, and they were showing us Motocross Madness 2. And again, the developers, I hadn't met the developers at that point. It was just Microsoft. Rainbow Studios is the studio that made Motocross Madness. And those guys, even those guys, they were like, oh, Steven, we played this track. We love this thing. This one's my favorite. And I'm like, and I'm sitting there just couldn't get over the fact that because the internet was fairly new back then, of putting something out there and people, So make a long story short, we all loved the game. We all went home. I thought that was the end of it. So I end up home, sitting around. A few months go by. I get a phone call. Hi, this is so and so from Microsoft. Is this Stephen Cameron? I'm like, yeah. He's like, yeah, I'm calling from Microsoft, and we want to fly you to San Diego, California. And I'm like, okay. And the person kept talking, and I'm sitting there going, oh, this is a joke, and I hung up on them.
Oh.
I hung up.
Oh,
I hung up,
Yeah.
and I thought it was one of my friends like playing a joke on me.
Pulling a
And
prank.
the person was rambling on and like, oh yeah, hey. The person thankfully called back a minute later and said, Steven, don't hang up. I'm so and so from Microsoft that you met at E3. And I went, oh, sorry. And they're like, look, this is what we want to do. We want to send you to San Diego, California, all expenses paid. And here, this is near November in Canada. So just picture that with a ton of snow, right? And then San Diego with the palm trees and stuff. So they said, we want you to build, you're pretty good at the tracks, but we think you're the perfect guy to build a car for Midtown Madness. And I was like, well, I've never done that before. They're like, yeah, you'll be fine.
You'll figure it
Okay.
out.
So still at this point, I'm thinking it's very surreal. Like, okay, I just got offered a trip to go to San Diego, California. And then by the time the trip ended up, it was beginning of December. So I was in San Diego, California, learning to make a car for Midtown Madness, all expenses paid. I ended up building a DeLorean from Back to the Future. Not the Back to the Future model, didn't have all the vents and the Mr. Fusion, all that stuff, but it had just a stock DeLorean. And I put that out there, and it became very popular because I had a friend that had the DeLorean. So I just took pictures of the side of the car, did it all in Photoshop, painted it. So it was fairly accurate DeLorean. Like I had measurements and the whole 9 yards. I built this thing to scale, and Microsoft just thought it was the best thing. They were like, oh, yeah, he delivered kind of thing. And I wasn't there for a job. But they were like, yeah, we sent them, and he actually built the car. Fantastic, So I built this thing. I met all the people. Like, okay, so the company was called Angel Studios. Now they're known as Rockstar. They made the Midnight Club series.
Yeah.
So that was called Angel Studios, which made Midtown Madness, but Rockstar bought them out and had made them do the Midnight Club series. So that company used the Midtown Madness engine to make Midnight Club. So it's kind of cool history there. So anyways, I think it's over again. I think, okay, well, shit, they sent me to San Diego. What the hell now? So they call me about 6 months later. And this is where it gets interesting. So they say, okay, Stephen, we want you to invite you to Seattle, and we want you to come to what they called at the time fan stock. You have a fan site. You built a car for Midtown Madness. You have all the Motocross Madness stuff. We want to invite you and show you the upcoming games and something special. And this was in 99. So I was like, sure, I'll take a free trip. Microsoft wants to pay me to go somewhere. I was
Oh.
single and no kids, right? So
I'm sure it wasn't a Hotel 6, right?
oh
It was
God, no!
probably
It was
right?
what was it? It wasn't like the Ritz-Carlton kind of thing, but it was.
Still
I
nice.
would say a really nice hotel where room service was very good and everything. So I'm on this plane to Seattle. My parents at this point, they're like, "Where's our son going?" And Microsoft, what? Like they're not understanding what's going on. And quite frankly, at the time, neither did I. But I was like, I'm going on these free trips. I'm going to the headquarters of Microsoft. How many people could say they've went there? So so basically, end up over there. They show us a bunch of games that never came out. They showed us Crimson Skies. They showed us Ages of Empire 2 at the time was not out. And that was coming out. So Ages of Empire and Midtown Madness 2, all that stuff was coming out. And so this was a few days. And at the end, there's a gentleman that comes out of the back with this room we were all sitting in, all these fan people. And they show us a big silver X. They wheel it out and they spend the next hour telling us about the Xbox, Microsoft's console, basically. This silver X, and this is funny, they wheel it out, they turn it on, nothing happens. It was broken.
That's
It was
typical
broken.
Microsoft. That's typical.
Oh yeah, it was like they demoed this thing at E3 and it's supposed to work and everything, and it was busted. But they showed us footage and everything else of the gameplay, and I was sitting there going, "This is amazing." So I asked, the individual that did the presentation was Ed Fries. Some people, he's in the community. He collects and repairs retro games too. He ended up repairing a couple of arcade machines and things like that. He very nice individual, Mr. Fries. So I asked him a bunch of questions. Hey, look, this was a console with a hard drive for the first time. So what about the hard drive? If you drop it, is it going to kill the machine? Or he says, no, in our drop tests, the CD-ROM drive would die before the hard drive. I was like, oh, okay. So they did all their testing and stuff. And I walked away and I went, I'm going to start a website. I'm getting into this website thing. I'll call it Xbox Addict. And I started this with one of the guys from the Motocross Madness Central sites. His name's Kevin, and basically, him and a few other guys started this thing. And what happened was there were expenses along the way that nobody could afford, and I had my own hosting company at the time, so I ended up just gobbling all the costs and the website and stuff like that. So the cost of bandwidth back then was stupid. So ended up launching. Go ahead. What's that? Dial up?
Dial up.
Yeah, pretty much. This was how this thing took off. Check this. So 6 months before the original Xbox launch, the traffic on my website went from 5,000. The month after was 10,000. After that was 20,000. After that was 50,000. After that was 100,000. And it plateaued out at 100,000 unique visitors before the launch of the original Xbox. So I was scrambling to optimize the website and everything else. And that in 2000, when it launched, there was people coming into the site like all the time. We plateaued out at about 250,000 unique visitors a month on that site. It was
Wow.
Everybody that had an Xbox either went to Team Xbox or Xbox Addict, one or the other.
It's kind of funny because I did go to Xbox Addict well before I knew you. It's kind of weird.
Really?
That
You never
yeah,
told
I
me
did.
that. He waits till the show to tell me that. Come
I
on,
do,
man.
of course.
What do you
But
want?
it-
What do you
it's
want
true.
from a floating head?
Yeah, floating head. Damn it. So it ended up being that this site took off, and the experiences along the way are you learn to deal with PR, you learn to build crazy big websites and how to handle all that traffic and things like that. And for my business, it did wonders because I was able to brag about a high traffic website and the stability and backups and all that stuff. The site got hacked many times, but we were up and running the next day because I had backups in the system going on, right? Like to make sure that the
Those
thing would be.
PlayStation fanboys at it again.
Oh,
Yeah.
There's a bunch of them in the chat room. They're like, really? He's going to talk about Xbox? We're out of here.
Oh yeah, no, but when the thing was launching, it was pretty funny. The GameCube was coming out at the time, and the PS2 at the same perfect storm, if you will. And the PS2 was already out, GameCube and Xbox or something, and there was debates and all kinds of stuff in the forums. It was crazy.
It's like warfare.
Oh, it was. And then there's people that would go in there, and then they it's almost like they had the attention span of a gerbil. They'd be like arguing about the GameCube and the Xbox and which one was better, and then they'd be talking about politics and religion and how come that's better or what. And then you're like, whoa, just keep it gaming. And like it went nuts, like, crazy. And I want to sit here on this podcast to say I wouldn't have been able to do this without all the help I got over the years, like by the volunteers and the people. And I say volunteers, I would send them on trips. I had one guy, he passed away a couple of weeks ago, actually, but he worked on the site, and I remember sending him to a WWE event. The guy lost his mind. He was a fan, so he was over there talking to, I don't know the wrestlers. I'm not a wrestling guy, but he was like a big fanboy, and it was like hilarious to hear him when he came. He was so grateful after, and I said, look, I don't pay, but you get to go on these trips, so you get all the free swag, you get to meet famous people that you may or may not have grown up with. That's the payoff. It's the life experience, that you may or may not get.
Let's switch
under
gears here
normal
for just one
Yeah.
quick second. I know we talk about Xbox. There's something I want to hit you up on because
Here we go.
this is going to be it now. I'm going to put you on the spot. So,
Go for it.
Atari came out with the VCS that's due to be released sometime between now and, well, Judgment Day, I'm supposing. And then you have the Intellivision Amico that's coming out.
Yep.
But there was something that kind of, in my opinion, kickstarted all of this. It was the Coleco Chameleon. Can you tell us a little bit about
Oh, here we go.
that
All
bundle
right.
project? The
Oh,
Kathleen
man.
Kennedy of game consoles. Let's hear it.
All right. So this is a story. I think this is the first time I'll talk about it publicly, because the amount of, I will say, backlash / humility, whatever, came out of that whole thing. So this is how it came to be. So I ended up making my Coleco Addict site, ColecoVision Addict, and the license holder for that contacted me, and he says, hey, what does your community talk about when they talk about Coleco? And we've had these discussions going on back and forth about, hey, people really like the minis, these little arcades back there, and people are still into that. And we had these discussions for about 6 months. And me, and being a networking kind of person that I am normally, is that I was talking to him, and then I was hearing what was going on with what was it called, Glenn? It wasn't called the Chameleon at first. It was called the Retro something, or I forget what it was called. It was called something else on a Kickstarter. Can't hear you. I couldn't hear you.
Yeah, I don't remember the original name of it. To be
But anyways,
honest,
it's by a fellow named Mike Kennedy or whatever. That's public knowledge. So, and I basically said, hey, why don't you call this Mike guy and put the Coleco brand on it and see if you guys can make something out of it? Because I was talking to both not the Mike Kennedy fellow, but I was talking to the Coleco guy, and I said, why don't you give him a call, see if you guys can, help each other out. My intentions were good, and I was like, okay, whatever. Let's have this person say hi to that person, and if they make beautiful music, fine. That was my logic. So this is where it gets. So these guys are talking, and stuff's happening, and I'm out of it. I'm just sort of whatever. So the Coleco guy calls me back, and he goes, Stephen, I want to thank you for introducing me, and I'm like, oh, okay, no problem. No sweat. Don't worry about it. And he's like, I want you to come to Toy Fair, and I want you to be part of this. Nice. And at the time, I was not between jobs. I still had my own business, but I was looking to get into the gaming thing. And I was like, oh, sure. Hey, I'd be at ground zero of this Coleco thing. So at the time, I was married, my kids. What's that? Sorry?
You rock Ground Zero, all right?
Oh yeah, Ground Zero is the understatement of the year right there. So so basically, told my wife, I'm like, hey, this is an opportunity. She's like, yeah, go, it's great, So I go to New York Tar Fair, meet up with the Coleco guy, shake his hand, hey, how's it going? And he's like, you're really knowledgeable about the Coleco thing, and that's why you're here to just talk about the brand and the things. And I was like, okay, cool, no problem. And he paid me. I won't say how much. It wasn't a ton of money, but it was enough. He paid the trip, paid me for being there and everything. So I had never met this Mike Kennedy fellow at all. So he shows up the morning of sort of getting the booth ready. And he's holding this thing in a briefcase, and he has this glass plexiglass covering for it and everything else, and he's holding it like a sandwich, like a big sandwich, and he's putting it down, and he's just putting it under this glass, and he puts the TV, and I'm sitting there. I didn't think anything of it at that time, and I'm thinking to myself, okay, fine, I'm not here to talk about that thing particularly because I don't know much about it, so I'm here to talk about the Coleco stuff. So here I am yapping away and whatever. As the day progresses, this thing starts shutting off. And I'm the only tech guy there really because I have a bit of a technical background being in the computers and all that stuff over the years. And I'm noticing this thing, and then the guy, he whips out of the back and he's got the SD to SNES cartridge, which is a flash cart for the Super Nintendo.
Dun, dun, dun.
So I'm sitting there going,
Wait a
why
minute.
the hell do you need that thing for? And he's like, oh, it's mimicking the Super Nintendo on board and stuff. Okay, well, I'm like, okay, whatever. I didn't see the circuit board up close. I was, doing my own thing, talking to people. I turn around, and the break, lunchtime comes around or whatever. So I go look at the back, and I'm looking at the connector, and it's a Super Nintendo, that notorious connector at the back, the plug for the AV. I'm like, why would the guy develop a board with that connector on it,
A specific one, yeah.
a specific one, and not have HDMI out or something that you logically in your brain would say, hey, it's 2000 at the time, 17 or whatever. HDMI is a common thing, whatever. So, so as the day progresses, I'm thinking to myself, going, that's a Super Nintendo in a Atari Jaguar case.
Yeah. Wait a minute.
But I and I was a bit sneaky during the day. I was like, hey, can you take the lid off? Let's have a good look. I want to touch it. He's like, no touching. And I was like, whatever. And again, I wasn't there to promote that thing particularly, but what if people would ask me, I would say, hey, talk to these guys, whatever, right? So that day went by, and at the end, he takes the lid off the thing, and the Jaguar case came off. Like, it wasn't screwed together or anything, or glued even for that matter. So the top came off, and I saw it was a Super Nintendo
Mini, the small one, right?
the smaller version that they did at the end of the life there, not the original. And I'm looking at
Second
this
release.
going, and it's got just like RF out and that, whatever. So I was like, what the hell? And all the pieces fit together. There was a Super Nintendo controller, the SD to SNES. And what was weird is that I was like, okay, this is just wrong. So I felt obligated to tell the Coleco rep guy, because he's not technical at all. Like, he's, Glenn knows him. He's not technical by any means. And I was like, look, man, you got to run away from this. You got to pull the plug on this thing. This thing is fraud written all over it. And this was in the cab ride on the way to supper at the end of the day. And I was like, you got to pull the plug. Like, and he's like looking at me, are you sure? Are you positive? I said, well, I'm not. I didn't lick the damn thing, but it looks like, And
Walks like a duck, talks like a duck. It's probably a
oh,
duck.
exactly. That's exactly.
Well,
It made all the right
photographs
sounds, and
on
it looked the
Photographs
part.
ended up on Atari Age, and they were Atari Age they're smart over there, and they picked that thing apart, and they swapped out that SNES and put in, I think it was a video board.
A video
in there
card.
for this. No,
Oh, that comes later.
That was just a prototype. That wasn't the real board. That wasn't the real board.
Oh yeah. So basically, So the show came and went, and I told the guy, I said, "You gotta walk away, run away from this thing with a," and he didn't really, because I think the money or the opportunity was still googly-eyed to the guy, I guess. I don't know. So I went home and I saw the shitstorm online and on my way home and everything. You know what's funny? The whole trade show, I kept away from the cameras. Like if there was somebody with a video camera the day after that I found all this stuff out, I was like, oh, there's a camera on me. Oh, I gotta scoot over.
But there is some of you there. I know. I saw you on it. There's a few shots of you with
There is.
frames.
Oh, I tried, but the booth was only like what 10 feet, 12 feet wide. So there was only so much room to get the hell out of the way. But this thing, the next day, the guy from Coleco, he's like, "What's wrong, Steven?" I was like, "I can't do this. This is like a big ginormous lie." Like, he's like, "Just don't say anything. Don't talk about it. Just send it to that guy over there." I was like, "Yeah, sure, no problem." And there was people asking me about it because I was the youngest guy there.
Mhm.
All the other guys were all like older, and I was like, "Shit!" With that, I was very nervous, and I was seeing the stuff happening online. But it was a trip home after the whole thing, and I went, "Oh man, I dodged a bullet." Like nobody mentioned me or anything or whatever, and there was people hating on that whole thing, and I didn't want to be part of it anymore. Like I was just like,
basically, it was one of the biggest video game scandals of
oh,
recent
probably,
memory. I mean,
yeah.
It's a complete sham.
Oh, the thing was a train wreck, and bears eating the leftovers or something. Oh, I don't know. Like it was terrible. I couldn't get over it after. And then the freaky part is about 2 or 3 weeks after, they were like, "Oh yeah, their Super Nintendo thing. Here's the real board," and that's what Glenn's talking about. They put I guess it was an MPEG-2 capture card or something like that.
Right. Yep.
And it was a capture card,
It's
and
an
basically,
FPGA. It's a high-end FPGA.
oh yeah. This was the funny part. I know this guy too in the Atari Age forum because he's an engineer. He was the one going to be doing a new ColecoVision board, and he goes, "That's this thing." And the dude actually got a Google image, posted in the forums, and it looked exactly the same.
Because
And
it
I
was
was like,
the same.
"Oh yeah, it was exactly the same." It was a total, and I was sitting there going, "Oh, they're screwed. They're totally like this. They gotta self-destruct this thing, pull the pin, whatever. They just gotta walk away." It's just that bad. Like it was, and I went underground for a while. Like anything, the dude would call me from Coleco. I wouldn't even answer the phone. Nope, sorry. Nope, I'm not talking to these people. I'm done. The whole thing's
weird
been
thing is
tarnished.
That whole thing with that Coleco Chameleon is honestly how I feel about the Atari VCS that's still not released at this point. To me, it
I
seems
don't
like it's very
even.
vaporware.
I remember. This is funny that you mentioned that because at the show at Toy Fair, an Atari rep came along and started talking to me at the beginning because I was the only one there, and I had bad vibes about that dude. It was just like it was almost like they were leeching what was left over of Atari, like just blood sucking the rest of it
Right.
out of that license or whatever. And I didn't
Right.
have a good vibe about it or anything. But that
The
chameleon
one
thing, and
difference,
I should
though,
have worn my chameleon shirt tonight. Oh man, I forgot. I have a shirt with Coleco Chameleon written on it.
get it for the post show. But the one thing
I'll
that's
go
different
change
is
real quick. I'll go put it on actually.
at least with that Coleco Chameleon, no money was really exchanged with people purchasing pre-orders.
I
Where
don't think
Atari
so.
has taken millions of dollars in pre-orders since what 2016, 2017 is when they started.
That thing's not going to happen.
That sounds like
If you want my honest
Konami.
opinion, it's not going to happen.
It sounds like Konami with the TurboGrafx 16 Mini. Oh, did I say that out loud?
I think it's today. Wait, is it today the 22nd? Was it supposed to be released today?
Yeah.
For people who don't already have it, like I got them already. But Doug, how about you?
You three already have it, don't you?
We bought it in Japan,
Doug.
but Doug held out. Doug's like, forget all you guys. I'm gonna stay here and wait till January
He's a strong
2021.
man.
I thought you were gonna say China, and I'm like, I was gonna say Krona.
Yeah, but no, Amazon did actually charge my card today, so there is hope that I'll actually get it.
Nice.
That usually means
Wow.
they shipped it when they do that.
Yeah.
Right.
Usually.
Well,
Then
I
they
think
take
it's
their
just the
money and
thing.
run.
I
It's
think
just a thing where you have these classic companies trying to build on like nostalgia, and that's why I wanted to bring that up because I'm so disappointed in what Atari. Again, it's not the classic Atari, but it just seems so much like the Coleco Chameleon fiasco, except that they have people's money, including ETA Prime. I know ETA Prime pre-ordered that thing because he
Oh,
believed. He's like, oh,
or
so it's just
those
like
people pull
these
on our
people.
heartstrings. You know that, right?
Yeah, yep. I have no
Shame
heart,
on
so that's why
them.
I'm good. I'm just a head. I'm just a floating head, so I'm safe from that.
Yeah, everybody should get the real FPGA thing, which is this Mister thing that I bought. The Mister FPGA. That thing is amazing. I have nothing but good things to say about that. And it's all open source too, and it's legit. Like Super Nintendo FPGA, it's legit on there. NES, TurboGrafx, Amiga, Commodore 64, it's all there, and it
But
runs
also,
it beautifully.
but in addition to that, the true successor to that Coleco Chameleon, which was nothing, was the Phoenix, right?
Yeah,
You
the
have
Phoenix I have, and
Phoenix.
it's okay. It's decent. Yeah, and we'll call it a spiritual successor, which some people had their hand in there, and that's it. Then none of the same parties of the other one had anything to do with the Phoenix. Collector Vision nearly 100% took care of the Phoenix, which is an FPGA based ColecoVision, and it works great. A couple little quirks, but for the most part, it's fine. For
I hate to be that guy, but I have to be that guy. We have 5 minutes left in the show before we go to post show. I know the hour has flown by, and Doug, we
has.
still have a giveaway that we have to do. So I'm going to turn it over to you. I'm sure your brain has been working on.
I want to be in the giveaway.
He wants to be in the giveaway. I'm sure
He's
your
giving
brain's.
you away. That's what you're doing.
I'm going to give you to Doug, and you can go over there. But what they have to do to win.
Well, I was gonna do the call-in thing. I figured that'd probably be the easiest because if I did like a comment thing, it'd be a little harder. We got Facebook and YouTube chats.
Let's do
So the
that then
call-in-
for the post show. So if people didn't show up for the actual show, you guys got to stick around for post show, and we could actually continue some stories, Steven. So we're not going to let that go. So if you guys want to stick around,
That's fine.
but we'll give you the last words here. Where can people find you as far as what you're doing, what you're keeping up with? I know you have your own graphics business. Why don't you talk briefly about that and how they can get in touch with you?
Yeah, basically, I had my business for 20 years called Cameron Graphics, and it's still kind of operational, but I don't take on new contracts because I went and got a real job like everybody else, and I work for a company, and here's a plug for them. It's called Great White North. It has nothing to do with Bob and Doug McKenzie or anything. It's a managed IT provider, and I'm basically their graphics and web developer, and I do help desk overflow for them. I'm on Facebook, on Twitter. Twitter is the real camshaft on there, and not too many different places because sometimes you have too many things to check. When you get a little older, you tend to sort of water down your outlets, if you will.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it's been a graphic designer for many, many years, drawing, and been around computers. So that fusion of the two has basically paid off well for me in general.
That's pretty cool. So that everybody can check it out. But I think what we need to do is because you have and people, you haven't seen the document that he has. He has a lot of great accomplishments that we could bring you back on in the future. Get Glenn to reschedule
That's
you
fine.
to go like a part 2 because there's a lot of information here that's good. And remember before the show, I was like, pick 4 topics.
Water
You
it down a little bit.
you understand now why we had to do that
Oh,
because
absolutely. You get rambling and you're like,
well, no,
oh,
it's good because Glenn
7
brings
already.
things
Oh,
up
wow.
and
Yeah, well, the backstory behind things, just like how you started
Yeah.
Xbox Addict. That story alone, right there, was super interesting.
It's cool because if you tell that story to anyone, they tend not to believe you, and you're like, that happened. Microsoft called, I hung up on them, was embarrassed as all hell, and I got to meet a lot of interesting people at Microsoft, and as much as Microsoft back then got a bad rap of being this evil company, they're not. They're
It's
just
true.
they're not that bad. Like their Xbox, their gaming division back in the 90s, and now it's a little different. But back then they cared about, the community and everything else. They still do, but they cared. They still do, like I said. But it's more console centric, less PC centric. And yeah, so at Microsoft, I've had a good run with these guys. They've been very good to me. They've got me stuff that I never would have dreamt of, and met people that have been mentors to me in the gaming industry, that I've been able to call on a personal level and say, hey, I'm thinking of doing this and this. What do you think? And they're like, yeah, totally, or not, or the market's going like this, and it's pretty cool. Like it's sometimes Microsoft gets a bad rap, but they're not that bad. They're just suffering from big company syndrome.
Windows
with all that.
Millennium, Windows Vista,
Windows
Oh
Bob.
yeah.
and
Windows Bob.
We don't talk about those.
Come on now. Well, either way, we'll definitely have to have you back on to talk about this in the future. Talk about some of you got a lot of interesting, cool subjects here we even touched on. Definitely want to have you back. You were a great guest. Ladies and gentlemen, Stephen Cameron. You can check him out at xboxaddict.com or on the social sphere. Just look up Stephen Cameron. I'm sure he wouldn't be afraid to friend you. Oh,
God, no. No, I'm a pretty open guy. And thanks for having me. This was a lot of fun. I did most of the talking, but I hope it was interesting for the audience. Just this interesting life story, if you will. Not the whole life, but, I didn't go that far back. But it's just the message I try to do with when I talk to people is that if you think for a second that you're not good enough to do something, try it. You're more than likely going to succeed at it because you're just that dedicated to it. It doesn't matter where you come from, how you grew up, what your background is. Just go with it. And I did. That's basically
unless you're Kathleen Kennedy.
Yeah.
We'll get into that in a little bit. We also want to thank Mr. Douglas Smith, youtube.com/cooltoy. What do we got on the agenda this week for the Legends Academy?
So this week actually is the parental. I misspoke last week. I got my weeks out of order, but this is the parental controls, the in-game menu, how you can change things, how you can set up your background, your music, kind of customize your cabinet for people that may be visiting or playing on your cabinet that you don't want messing up your settings. So
very cool.
I'll walk you through how to baby-proof and child-proof your cabinet.
Can you Glenn-proof it?
Oh, there's nothing. I mean, the
Glenn
government's
just
still trying to figure
looked
that
up right now. Like
Area 51.
Yeah, that's.
They're still trying to figure out a vaccine for Glenn.
They don't even know Glenn.
Yeah.
Who are you talking about?
Glenn.
First of all, I am not Glenn. I am Pac Glenn.
Oh, Pac
There you
Glenn. Okay, you're So Pac Glenn today.
No. Plen.
What?
Plen.
Oh, Plen. I get it. Plen. Pac Glenn. So Glenn, I think what we're gonna have to do is Doug and I and Daniel are gonna have to interview at some point on this show and kind of get your backstory of how you got into this, because I think that would be interesting.
That's going to be one of those mysteries you would find on, like, Bravo or something like that. Some weird 4 a.m.
Well, eventually,
true stories of the crazy insane.
Eventually, it will be.
Story.
But I think if we could document it, scenes you're getting like up there in age and you're like 3 days younger than God. I mean, anything's possible. We got to get it documented.
Steve Jobs had to reach out to have his biography done because he knew his time was coming. So, I am equally as important because you can see I'm just ahead now. So I don't have much time left. I think what happened was Steven took that DeLorean, went back in time. He changed something in my past, and I'm being erased.
From existence.
I like that.
Yep.
I like
No, you ate a Pac-Man pellet, and you are getting faded away like in Infinity War.
Could be that too. Oh no, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah,
Glenn, I'm going to leave you with this horror. Kathleen Kennedy was on the executive producing team at Back to the Future.
Yeah, I know. But back then,
I died a little bit inside.
Steven, don't get him riled up yet. Give him a little bit of time. Hey, you guys,
that's my movie.
You guys check it out.
Movie, and she touched it with her gribby hands.
Go to youtube.com/gplanamento and you can see more of Glenn than just his head. You'll see the rest of him.
Pac-Man.
I think I see the rest of him. Oh wait, no, it's just.
And this guy here, I gotta get him some social stuff. I'm a little nervous about it at this point in time.
I really want to start my own YouTube channel.
So we want to get him going. But right now, he doesn't really have any contact information. But we're getting him. We're getting there.
Oh, I forgot to ask about next week's guest.
Oh, do you actually know? I just kind of gave up asking.
Well, the Glenn head knows.
Oh, well, that's good. We need to have the Glenn head more often.
At least your brain is still intact.
That's it. So we will have Nostalgia.
Oh, nice. Another Canadian.
Ooh.
Yeah, you know,
Yeah, his
see, once
name's
again, all
Steve
the
too, I
American
think.
jobs. All the American
His
jobs
name's
going to
Steve, I
Canada.
think, too. Is it Steve? Right?
Yes, that's another Steve. Yep.
These are the Steves I know.
Yep.
Ancient
Not the
alien
Daves I
astronauts
know, but the
say
Steves.
yes.
So we got Mr. Nostalgia coming on. He does a lot of really good YouTube tutorials for the Legends, as well as some of the other things out there, which we'll find out next week. So you definitely want to tune in. If you're here, stick around. We're going to do post-show. We're going to open up the phone lines, and you can win something really cool for Pac-Man. So make sure you tune in. We'll see you next week. And we got Jerry Garcia.
Full of quarters and I'm drinking
We'll see you next week. You guys have a good week.
Pac-Man fever.
I ain't got
Bye,
a lot
guys.
of money, but